Howdy y'all. Well, after avoiding spoilers for the longest time, I've finally been able to catch a showing of the new Nosferatu in theaters. And let me tell you, this movie was good. Really good. It's chock full of some incredibly well done scenes that expertly set up the horrific atmosphere that the film is going for. A bit of a warning, this video is going to be filled with some spoilers, but it's spoilers for a remake of a 103-year-old movie that itself is based off a 128-year-old book, so forgive me if I don't care too much about giving away some plot details. Again, I have to reiterate how expertly this film sets up atmosphere throughout its runtime. Every second of it is dripping in so much horrific gothic imagery it's almost impossible to not feel dread while watching. There are so many great scenes here that I don't dare list them all without proper footage to highlight them. But one great one that stood out to me is where Hunter is forced to sign his name on a document that will fully complete Count Orlok's purchase of his estate in Germany. You can see the mental anguish Hunter is going through, knowing that signing his name would unleash this terrible threat to his hometown, though he does it anyway. Far too scared to do anything else in the presence of the Count. Two other great moments here lie in this film's interpretation of two scenes from the original Nosferatu. We're all familiar with the imagery of Hunter opening the Count's grave, finding him in his unearthly slumber. Now in the original film, that's where it ends, but here Hunter decides to try to kill the vampire where he lays. He picks up an axe from the ground and starts to go for the kill, but as he moves you can see the sunlight becoming dimmer and dimmer in the windows behind him. So by the time he goes for the swing, it's too late. Orlok wakes up and catches the axe right before it's plunged into his heart. And that leads directly into the iconic scene of the Count preying on Hunter in his room. Yeah, unlike the original film where the Count preys on Hunter and then the next morning Hunter finds the Count asleep, here Hunter finds the Count asleep, the Count wakes up, and then follows Hunter back to his room to prey on him there. For the record, I don't think the original order of events was bad or anything, but it's hard to deny that the new version does make these scenes flow better. Okay, so if you watched my last video, you know that there were two main complaints that I had with the original Nosferatu, and both of them were fixed here in the remake. The first thing I brought up is that Not felt inconsequential to the plot as a whole. Well, you can't say that about him here. Now he's very active in the story. While he's still the one to tell Hunter to travel to Transylvania, now he's actively helping the Count after he arrives. Instead of breaking free from his cell just to be chased by some villagers, he breaks free to smuggle the Count's casket to his estate. And instead of simply being caught off screen, he's killed by a steel pike driven by Hunter and Van Helsing. Or rather, Nosferatu's version of Van Helsing, but you get the drift. Overall, he is far more important to the story than he was in the original film. You can tell that the filmmakers here actually understood what made Renfield work as a character and alter Not's role in the story accordingly. Another issue I had with the original Nosferatu is that it was never properly explained what was happening with Ellen when she was having her visions of what Orlok was doing to Hunter. Here though, they absolutely explain it. You see, she had psychic visions her entire life, and because of this she was ostracized from the rest of the world. Feeling secluded, she calls out for companionship, and the shadow of Count Orlok reaches out to grant her request, falling under the Count's spell long before she had ever even met Hunter. So yeah, she's a clairvoyant, and here she's possessed by the Count numerous times due to his influence over her, giving a proper explanation for her visions throughout the story. And their connection here changes the Count's motivation for coming to Germany in the first place. In the original film, it's safe to assume he just moved to suck the blood of some fresh necks. Here though, he's traveling to Germany to finally meet Ellen in person, so that the two can be joined in whatever his morbid idea of love is. This also makes it even more fitting for Ellen to be the one to kill the Count in the end. She started this whole mess when she first called out to him, and she's the one to finish it as well when she sacrifices her life so that Orlok can be vanquished by the morning sun. Oh yeah, unlike the original film where Ellen survives the final encounter, here she dies with the Count due to all of the blood loss. And I like the change for this movie. Overall, this version had a far more somber tone than the original did, so a bittersweet ending was a fitting note for it to end on. Stepping back for a moment, it's the Count's lust for Ellen that explains why Hunter was specifically called to travel to Transylvania. It's explained that the Count can't take Ellen as long as she is married, so he instructs Nock to send Hunter over, so that he can kill him in his castle, allowing him to freely join Ellen in unholy matrimony. Though, of course, Hunter surviving threw a bit of a wrench into his plans, which... Okay, why does the Count care if she's married or not? This is an undead creature of the night that unleashes a plague onto Germany. He's okay with killing countless innocent people, but he won't take another dude's girl? Is the bro code that strong? I guess a crucifix, garlic, and a marriage contract are a vampire's greatest weaknesses. But I digress. Another big positive I have to give this film is that it actually gave the characters of Van Helsing and Dr. Seward something to do in this story. The original film reduced these important characters from the book to such minor roles that they leave little to no impact on the story as a whole. You made Van Helsing inconsequential in the story of Dracula. What is wrong with you? Here though, their roles are more thoroughly fleshed out, acting more or less like their counterparts in the original novel. The movie also fleshes out the characters of Frederick and Anna Harding. These two were little more than extras in the original film. Here though, they are important characters in the story, with them actually being recognizable as this film's version of Lucy and Arthur. Two very important characters from the novel that really weren't present in the original movie at all. Overall, that's my main praise for the remake. It expands upon the story of the original while also including more elements from Bram Stoker's novel. Though, if I may be critical for a moment, the movie may have expanded the story just a tad too much. The movie sits at 2 hours and 12 minutes, and the runtime was felt at points. There are just a few too many scenes of the characters talking about what's going on. I feel like some cuts could have been made so that the pacing would have been better throughout. Again, it wasn't bad by any means, but I think there was a really great hour and 50-minute movie trapped in the body of a very good 2 hour and 12-minute movie. And now for some minor things I didn't know where to fit in the review. I have no idea why this film is still set in Germany. Everyone here is speaking English with proper British accents to boot. Yeah, the original film was set in Germany, but that's because that's where it was filmed. Having it still set there honestly makes no sense. Oh, and kind of a more major minor note, I really didn't care for Count Orlok's design. It's trying too hard to look grotesque and scary, and ends up just looking like another generic demon from any other modern horror film. To be fair though, the movie is smart enough to almost always leave him in the shadows. There's really only a handful of shots in the entire film where the vampire is plainly seen. So, seeing how you don't even have a good look of him throughout most of the picture, I'm not too mad that he doesn't look that good in said picture. That's everything I wanted to say about the film. Overall, it's a really solid piece of horror. This film has some of the best suspense I've ever seen. I was on the edge of my seat quite a few times while watching it. I highly recommend giving it a watch while it's still in theaters. I don't know if I say it's better than the original film, though it's certainly more friendly towards modern audiences. And honestly, that's all I can really ask for at the end of the day. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, and until next time, goodbye y'all.